So basically, what I want to cover today is I have several topics, like, for example, icebreaker, exhibitions, projects, discussions, and activities. And so what I want to do is what template do I use, or what is the best template in Padlet to use for, let's say, an icebreaker, or if I'm doing an exhibition, or if I want to do a semester-long project, or for discussion, so or activities. And so I just want to share with you some of these templates that I've seen other faculty use, just to give you an idea what other faculty at FIT are using and what I've seen. And then I'll give some tips and advice of what I think is probably a better way to do it, or and also jump in if you are doing something under one of these categories and you want to show how you're doing it, or if you just have a question, please just jump in and let everyone else know. This is being recorded so that others who couldn't make it to this one or this workshop can watch it asynchronously. So I'm going to share my screen so I can show you. And to be honest with you, this is the biggest problem when somebody who is using Padlet for the first time. This is the very common issue that I see is faculty will come to me, hey Jose, they have the vision, they know what they want to do, but they don't know which template works best. And so this is a big question for today. This is what I'm trying to solve today is to show you what each template can do and the best way to do it. So right away, again, just to reiterate to summarize what we did in the first workshop, Padlet can be found on the top left-hand corner of the Blackboard, right under your name. You'll see here Padlet. Make sure that you're logged into your Blackboard, and also make sure that you also logged into your FIT Gmail account. That makes it easier for you to log in once you click on Padlet right here, because Padlet will recognize that you are already logged into Blackboard and your FIT account. So it should be easy to log in if you're already logged into Blackboard and your FIT Gmail account. Okay, so the first one, let's start with icebreakers. All right, so icebreakers always a great opportunity to get your students' feet wet using the technology, getting used to Padlet, getting used to Blackboard, and also getting used to how your teaching style and how you teach. So always an icebreaker is always a great way to start the class. And so with an icebreaker, what I found to work really well for low stakes activities such as an icebreaker is if you go to make a Padlet, and so here are the 7 templates. It's a wall, right? A wall is an easy way, nice, quick, and dirty. With a wall, keep in mind that all your students' posts will be it won't be organized in a certain alphabetical order. It's not going to be alphabetical order. They're all scattered everywhere, right? That's the con of using the wall. Things are going to be all over the place. But if you want something quick and dirty for an icebreaker, the wall can work for you. Also the grid. So these two is what I normally see for an icebreaker. It's someone either using the wall, and the wall will look something like this. All right, so let's build a wall, and I'll call this icebreaker. Right, and here you can write a description. You can say, well, create a post and reply to another two students. Or what I like to do is make it much more interactive with an icebreaker. You can say, tell me 3 truths about yourself and something that you yet haven't done in your life that you wish to do, right? And so these are a little bit much more, will get you more of who your students are, right? and what are their hobbies. And what I love about something like this is that you get to learn who your students are, right? You tell them, you can say, post an image of yourself, tell me three things, three truths about yourself, and tell me one thing that you haven't yet done. And so you also can figure out, what are some of the hobbies that they've done and what they like, what they're into. So what you're doing basically is you're building a student portfolio of this icebreaker, right? The icebreaker is not just because you have to do an icebreaker. It's because you want to get something out of it, right? And so you're getting a lot of information from your students. You can build this icebreaker, turn it into a student portfolio, convert this portfolio into a PDF that you can then either have in your hand as a printout, so that if you forget the students' names, you can clearly see their faces on the pictures and then know, okay, this is Mary, this is John, because then you can easily recognize their face because they put their picture on the icebreaker. So that's another good thing you can do with a Padlet icebreaker is so that you can develop your student portfolios online or on a face-to-face class. And then, and then if you want to take it a step further, now that you have the student portfolio that's built from the icebreaker, now from this student portfolio, you can build your lesson hooks, right? Because now some of your students are into marketing department, or some of them are doing this, some of them are into escape rooms, or they're into hockey. And so next time you build your lesson hook, you might tell a little story about the hockey game that happened last night, or you might tell something that, if your students are into pizza, if someone talks about pizza, they're big into pizza, and you're teaching math, hey, bring in pizza, you're teaching fractions. And that's how I'm thinking about lesson hooks. All right, so right away, for an icebreaker, you want to turn on attribution, you want to turn comments on, you might want to turn on reactions. That's up to you if you are into that kind of thing, like social media, Facebook, if you want the likes or not, right? And so basically, that's an icebreaker, right? And just click next. We're not going to talk about adding this to Blackboard. We already covered that in the first workshop. But here, right now, the students are clicking in the pink plus icon, and then now they're adding, here's my name, and then I'm writing my three truths, and then, I might upload my image, right? So here I can upload my image. If I don't have a picture of myself, I can click here and take a selfie, right? If I want to take a picture of myself, I can take a picture. I can leave a video recording as my icebreaker response, or I can say hi and record my voice. I can record the screen, or you can do many things from this window as a student. They can also research, and we'll talk about that later when we're using Padlet for research. All right, they can search Google and find anything they need to find and add it to the Padlet. And so from this icebreaker, as students are adding their posts, right, and say, I love to play basketball, I am majoring in marketing department, senior at FIT, and so this is the information that you're collecting, right? And they're going to publish this into this grid. And so this is going to populate, and the students are going to, put their information in here. And if you want to, once this is fully populated with all your students, then you can actually, what I was saying earlier, you can export this as a PDF. And this becomes your student profiles, right? So you can make it into a letter style, A4, legal, portrait, landscape, whatever you want to make it, publish it. It takes a few seconds, and there you go. Now it looks much more visual, because a lot of your students are going to be posting their images, their photos, and their selfies. And so the formatting is actually pretty good in Padlet, in the PDF format. So that's a tip for you and for icebreakers. Any ideas, or anybody else want to share what they've done with icebreakers or to get students' feet wet as a Padlet using Padlet?
Not right now on my account.
Okay, okay. But Patrick, you're using it though. You used it as an icebreaker already in your course, right? You used it.
Yeah, or similar activities, right? Right now, I'm a very beginner with Padlet. This is the first semester I'm using it, and I'm very encouraged by the students' responses. You know, it's very intuitive for them, so I want
Mhm.
to continue advancing the features that I'm using in more technical parts of the class as well.
Right, right. Another thing, Patrick, I think you helped me remember, and this is super important, is that as a Padlet, everyone has an opportunity to contribute. It's not like in the face-to-face classroom where you have those 2 or 3 students who are the only, always raising their hand, or they're the only people that are adding value to the conversation. With a Padlet, this is what we call universal design, right? You design for everyone in the classroom. You're not designing your course just for a few students. You're designing so that everybody has an opportunity to participate. And that's another thing that as an icebreaker, everybody in this Padlet has an opportunity to say something and reply to each other or add value to the conversation. So,
Jose,
so uh-huh.
Jose, I don't know
Yes.
if this is the right time to ask this question, and I'm sure that you have answered before. Is there a specific Padlet training video for students that you recommend?
Yes, that's a great question, Patrick. I have a video that
Okay,
I put together, and I will email to everyone who attended today the link to that
great.
video.
Okay,
I have two. I have one that's designed for more of a specific assignment, which is a digital storytelling assignment I'm going to cover in a second. But then I also have one that's basic for students on how to use Padlet. Um,
okay.
because Patrick, the one big problem is sometimes, even though students are very savvy and they know how to use Padlet because it's very similar to social media, one of the biggest problem is that students, 80% of our students at FIT, I would say, doesn't matter online or face to face, most of your students are doing the work from their phones.
Yep.
They're working on the mobile phones. And I would say it's crazy the amount of people, students that are doing it. Um, they're not even using a laptop. Most of the time, they're either on their phone and they're working on their phone. And so the big problem is that sometimes they're not logged into Padlet, and when they're not logged in and they're creating a post, instead of saying FIT online or Jose Diaz, they'll say anonymous.
Hmm.
It could be annoying because now you have a student in your class and it's anonymous. You have no idea who it is who just wrote this post, and it's a simple fix. Just making sure that you're logged in with your on Blackboard. If you're logged into Blackboard, you shouldn't have the anonymous problem on Padlet. But the problem is, now that everyone's using phones, a lot of students is that they have the Padlet app, and so they bypass Blackboard and they go straight to Padlet, and then they're logged in as anonymous, and that could be like it could be a headache for you because now you're seeing this anonymous student, you don't know who it is, and so just reminding your students to log in uh, through Blackboard, or if you go through the Padlet app, just make sure that you're logged in with your FIT account, and that will eliminate that problem. Okay.
Okay.
So very simple, right? We did an icebreaker, so that's very straightforward. It's a great way for you to get your feet wet yourself as an instructor and using Padlet for the first time, as well as your students to get the hang of Padlet and getting used to it. Now, the next one I want to do, and also remember, if you ever want to go from a Padlet back into your dashboard, you can just click on the top left corner here. Just take me home. It says Padlet. If you click on that, it will take you back home. Also remember that if you're in the shared tab, you're going to see other people's work. right, that have mistakenly made their Padlets available to everyone at FIT, which is a big no-no because of FERPA violations, and that we covered in the first workshop. Make sure that your Padlets are always private, only to your class, because you don't want your Padlets open to everyone else. So if you're seeing in the shared tab, you're seeing other people's work, make sure just to click on Made, because you want to be on the Made tab, which under Made are only Padlets that you have created, right? So that could be a little bit confusing if you're on this tab and you're starting to see other people's work. And you're like, why am I seeing this professor's Padlets? You know. So just make sure you're over here on Made. And then I'll reach out to those professors. I do that constantly. Whenever once in a while, I go to the share and I go check to see if there's anybody who is new to Padlet and they made their Padlets organizational wide, which is a big no-no, because then everybody will see your Padlets, and it's a FERPA violation. We don't want that. Any questions before I move on to exhibitions? Okay. All right. So exhibitions. So this is I'm going to combine exhibitions with projects. Kind of. I'm kind of going to blend the two together. And so let's make a new Padlet. And now for this one, I like to use the shelf template. I'm going to skip the stream one for now because that one I don't have much of a use case for it, but I'll come back to stream in a second if we do have time. But I want to go to shelf. So we did wall and we did grid. Wall and grid, very similar. I forget which one. I think it's grid. I think it's wall unless you move them around, whereas grid, I think they stay. And so that's only the major difference between the wall and the grid is that one of them allows you to move posts around. You can drag them anywhere and move them around, whereas I think the other one doesn't let you move. So that's the only really major difference between the wall and the grid. And also that the grid is kind of like set like 3 rows across, you know, whereas this one, there is kind of no level, right? They're all kind of like, this could be a little longer, or, and then one is that you can move and drag those posts around. So they're very similar, wall and grid. Now the shelf, this one is a very popular one. And I'll show you some ideas that might inspire you to use a shelf template. And so basically what the shelf is these are stack or columns that are stacked. You know, so there's a column here and the second column. And so there's a series of columns. That's basically what the shelf is. So let's go ahead and show you some examples of what you can do with the shelf template. And I'll do the same with the shelf template. I'm going to go through this real quickly. I'm just going to make this attribution on, comments are on, and reactions are on. Very, very straightforward, because we covered this already in the first workshop. Very basic stuff, the settings here, right? And so I'm going to click Next and start posting. So now, with the shelf template, if you are doing exhibitions, right, at the end of the semester, you're telling your students that you're going to have to present to your classroom, or you have to create a video, or you have to have a final project, and everyone has to submit a project. So the shelf template works great because what you can do is, I go into my course on Blackboard, I go into the roster. Let me go into. I'll go into my sandbox. I have, I think, Jeffrey and Antonio are in there, so I can use them as students. So on the left-hand side of the navigation menu on Blackboard, if you go to Users and Groups and click on Users, and so I have a couple of students here. I got Margaret Bishop. So let's say I want Margaret Bishop. I'm going to copy her name, first name and last name, and I'm going to go back into my shelf template. I'm just going to paste Margaret Bishop there. I'm going to go now and I'm going to copy Antonia Blatchford. Well, you know, if you have 19 students, this might take some time, right? It might take you about 5 minutes to copy and go through your roster. But what I'm doing here is I'm saving you a lot of time in the long run. And by that, I mean is if I am adding my students' names here, I'm providing a column that belongs to that specific student. So Margaret comes into my Padlet. Margaret has her column. Antonia has hers. Tammy has her column. And I have my own column. So as a professor, what this is doing is, like how we did before on the grid or the other one for the icebreaker, they're all scattered everywhere. And so
Wall.
you have to,
The wall.
the wall. Thank you, Christine. Right, the wall and the grid, right? They're all scattered everywhere. And as a professor, we hate to chase, right? I don't want to have to chase my students and have to look. And also makes it much more complex if you say, well, I need a post and I need two replies. Now you're going to have to go look around for that student's initial post, and you got to look for the two replies. It's a nightmare, right? You're going to have to look and look and look. And so in this way, what you're doing is already it's in alphabetical order by last name. You got the B's are here, the C's and the D's. So right away you're going from alphabetical order by last name. And right away, if I come into this Padlet, I can tell that, hey, Margaret didn't do the work because I don't see anything under her name. I don't see Antonia's work because, so right away you can reach out to Antonia, Margaret, say, hey, what's going on? You know, the deadline is due Friday. So come on, do your work. So right away, make your life easier and not have to search. Everything is right there, right in front of your eyes. So that will work great for assignments, homework assignments. But now I can hear your thoughts. You're asking me, well, Jose, now I have to create a shelf template for all my homeworks, and then I have to type in every student name over and over again every time? And the answer is no, you don't have to. Because what I would do in this situation, if I'm already thinking ahead and I know I have a 5 homework or 10 homeworks for the semester in which I'm going to use this type of template, what you do is you do it one time. You put in all your students' names from the roster sheet, right, from here. You might have 19 students. You do that one time, only one time. You're going to call this your master template. Or, you know, a better name could be a cookie cutter. If you don't like using, you can come up with your own name. If you want to use master template, call this something that will let you know that this is your roster. Right? And you never, ever use this Padlet in the real assignment. This is your cookie cutter. You don't use this for your students. They don't have access to this. You only use this to create a remake. All right, everybody got that? A remake. A remake is a copy. We're duplicating the work so that we don't actually have to type in or copy and paste all these names. So if I go here and I click remake, obviously I want to change the name because this is going to be called homework number 1, not template roster or master. I'm going to call this now homework number 1 because I want to use the names that I have over here. And I already done the work. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Obviously, you're going to have a new description for this homework. And then this is the most important part right here. You're going to copy the design, obviously, because this is the design you want. You're going to copy the post. In this case, the post means the students' names. Right? You're going to copy this because you don't want to have to retype your students' names over and over again. You don't want to do that work. You did it one time. And lastly, you copy people and privacy. And basically what this is the settings that we chose in the beginning when we created a Padlet. These are the settings that we, attribution, comments on, the privacy, all of this are the settings. These are the names of your students. And the design is the background, the color, the fonts. So we want to keep these 3 items the same. You don't have to do copy authorship, obviously, because your students haven't created any posts yet. And we don't want to work on a Padlet that has posts We want only to copy the names. We don't want to, we don't want it to have any posts here. This is why this is never touched. It always stays as a master template. Any questions about remaking a Padlet as a cookie cutter?
So Jose, you're saying this is for assignments, right? And right now, when I give an assignment, it's on Blackboard, and then I go to needs grading.
Yes.
The grade there, and I paste the feedback to learner. Is there an extra step that we need for this one to do that, or does it automatically feed into the grading?
Oh, that's it. So this is a great question. And now this falls back to what I was talking earlier about the big decision as a professor, the big decision that you have to make, right? You have this amazing vision for this awesome assignment. It's great. It looks wonderful on paper. You're thinking about it. But then you have to decide, is Padlet the right tool for this assignment? Because like Christine mentioned, with a Padlet, the grades are not going to go into needs grading. It's not going to go into needs grading. You're going to have to go into the Padlet. You're going to look at Margaret's work, and then you're going to give it a grade. Then you're going to go into the grade book, and in that column, you're manually are going to type in the grade for that student. That's a con. That's a con, right? Because now you manually have to type in a grade. Whereas if you were using a Dropbox assignment, we refer to them as Dropbox assignment, or a Blackboard assignment, where the grade is automatically pushed into the column in the grade book. So it's a great point.
This would, So this would probably work for like a group project where we wanna eventually open it up to the entire class to critique, right? That would
Yes.
This would be a good tool for that. Okay.
And that's a perfect segue to then talk about projects. So this could be easily a homework. So let me go ahead and click submit. So you'll see what happens. So now we went ahead, we gave it a new name, we gave it a description, and then we gave it the 3 settings, and then we click submit. And so now this is making a copy. You see it says remake in progress. So look at that. Now I have homework 1. I didn't have to retype all my names. That just saved me 5 minutes of having to copy and paste my roster of 19 students or 25 students, whatever students you have. I already created a cookie cutter that I know I'm going to have 5 assignments where I'm going to be using this kind of template, just to save you time. Now going back to what Christine said, which is super important, and this is why I'm doing this workshop, because all of these questions you're going to have to answer these questions even before you get to this point. You have to think about, is Padlet the better way to go, or do I do it as a Dropbox assignment? I'm losing this if I go with Padlet, but I'm losing that. I'm losing another feature if I go with Blackboard assignments. And so this is where you have to really think about, what is it I'm trying to get? What are the learning objectives of my assignment? What is it that I'm trying to get from my students? Padlet is great for visuals. Students can record their voice. They can post pictures. They can drop in the assignment or a file. But then again, a Blackboard assignment is great because if it's a quick multiple choice questions or a quiz, or you don't want to deal with having to manually put in those grades into the gradebook, then you will go with Blackboard assignments. But then this is where you have to think about what is better for you in your learning objectives.
Jose, my question is that if you're going to put a grade on this as a comment, then everybody in the class sees that student's grade.
Yes, that's another excellent point. That's an excellent
point. That
point.
would be a FERPA violation right there.
Exactly, Paula. That's an excellent point. You're jumping a little ahead, so I'm going to hold on to that thought for a few minutes, because I'm going to go back to what Christine was talking about, and then we'll jump into what Paula's talking about, because that's something that's a little bit more advanced,
And I have another question after Paula.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Go. You want to go ahead, Christine? Now.
Yeah. So does it make sense to make PowerPoint the project, or should they paste the pictures there separately from a PowerPoint? Like,
So the project I'm going to talk about now might
mm-hmm.
shed some light onto that. So
Okay, good.
the two different types of projects that I'm going to show real quick. The first one is going to be similar to this, right, where the names are here, and then the students will then upload. You know, they have to upload a PowerPoint presentation. So then they go here, and then let me see if I can find a PowerPoint presentation that I have. A PPT. Here's one. I don't know what this is, but you see now it's uploading. You can see how Padlet has a visual, tells you 81%, and then the student will click publish. And this is a PowerPoint presentation directly on the student's under the student's name that then all the other students can then learn from each other, right? This is social learning, right? And so if you're into that, if you're okay with students uploading their work and then we all learn together as a group, Padlet, you can't beat that, and Blackboard will not be able to do that for you. If that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for social learning, students learning from each other, I don't think there's anything out there that would beat this. And this is what Padlet is great at: is the social learning. Because now Tammy can come in here, Antonia can come and click on my work, and they can go through my work and look at it. And notice it opens like in PowerPoint. I don't even have PowerPoint open. I'm still in Padlet, but Padlet is imitating PowerPoint. That's another great feature to let you know if you upload. And I think, Paula, you do this. You use Excel, right? You use Excel spreadsheets.
All the time.
Perfect, right? Perfect. Paula, if you have your students upload Excel spreadsheets onto the Padlet, it opens up like Excel.
Does it pad or just display? Does it operate like it? Does it operate like Excel or just display?
It operates like it, although it will be limited. In Excel, you can jump through this. Yeah, in Excel, if you open up an Excel and you upload it to Padlet, you can jump from cells to cells like if you were in Excel. But I won't be able to then add a formula.
I have a question. Let's say my students, so every class, to give you a little background, every class, towards the end of the last hour of the class, they work on an in-class assignment. It may be a math problem in my math class, or it may be an assignment where they do a very quick PowerPoint for the assignment. But in order to share the work, they often like to work in Google, and whatever it's called, PowerPoint is called in the Google PowerPoint version. So I could actually have them just upload that work to Padlet, so the entire class could see all 5 teams, in other words.
Exactly.
And then they could go up to the board and whatever, or up to the computer, you know, in the classroom, the podium, click on their team's work, and it would display from there.
Exactly. I have professors who are currently doing that in the face-to-face classroom right now, where they're bringing in the Padlet, and also Paula, your comments earlier were great because you were seeing Padlet as a way for a professor or an instructor to use it as a presentation tool in replacing, let's say, PowerPoint, because now you can use it as a repository, you go through your lesson plan, and then dump in all the content that you're going to use, open up Padlet in the classroom, and you have everything that you're going to need for your lesson plan.
But my students can also upload, correct? They have no problem uploading.
You can also do that. You can also set up the Padlet for students to upload work on there, or you can make it so that they cannot upload. So you have that.
How do I set those permissions?
Oh yes. So the permissions. Remember, the permissions are always here in the gear icon, right? And so if you don't want your sorry. Now that I've recreated the Padlet, it changes. Now it's in share. And so this is where you would change the privacy. So if this is a Padlet that only you are editing, obviously you're going to change this so your students cannot edit your presentation. You know, you can just set this to, they can read it, but they can't write on it, right? And so that's where you would, you know, if it's more of a, if you're using it more of a presentation tool in replacing your slides, not really replacing your slides because you can always dump your PowerPoint in here. It's more of like a repository where all your tools are ready for you for your class, and you don't have to go digging and hunting. It's like a bookmarking. You're bookmarking all the content you're going to use, dumping it into your presentation Padlet.
But how do I allow my students who've now spent 40 minutes doing some putting together a presentation, how do they get permission to go onto the Blackboard, the Padlet I have in Blackboard, and upload their work? What permissions do they need?
Yes, yeah. So we kind of covered that in the first workshop. So then once you create the Padlet, then you embed the Padlet inside the Blackboard, and then the students.
Right. No, I know how to do that. But how do my students add their work onto the Padlet?
Yes, so exactly right. They're going to go into the Blackboard and they're going to click on the Padlet, and then from there they're going to click on the plus icon right here, and then it's under their name or.
Okay, then you can click that. Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do they have to embed a PowerPoint, or can they just put it in as a link?
It's an upload, so they will click. And so see, this is the interface. So they will click on the little up arrow to upload a file, and then they'll just upload any file type.
Okay, that's simple
it takes
enough.
anything.
Perfect.
It takes movies, audio, GIFs, memes. I mean, anything can be uploaded. And the limitation, I think, are 10 or 1 gigabyte. I forget, but I got to check. It's a big file. They can upload as big files as possible. But Paul, real quick before I move on. This is how this is not a great example, but this is an Excel file that I uploaded, and look, it looks like I'm in Excel. See, look at the cells. Here you have the A through the Z, and then here you have the 1 to the 100, whatever, and it looks very much like Excel. It even has the Microsoft Excel logo over here. I mean, it's limited. I can't do formulas in here, but this is how an Excel file will open inside Padlet. It's amazing. This blew me away when I saw this. That it looks like I'm in PowerPoint, or it looks like I'm in Excel, but I'm still in Padlet. I haven't opened Excel, or I haven't opened PowerPoint. I'm still in. Yeah, pretty neat.
I found it very. An Excel file.
I uploaded it. Okay. All right, so let me go to the next one, which is this is the big one. This is the one I really want you all to take away with you, because this one is super powerful. I find it amazing. I find it this really amazing. So this is also the shelf template, right? And as teachers, we all know when you have an assignment or a big project, students like to procrastinate. Like we all know that, right? That's always the biggest hurdle to overcome as a teacher, is getting students to submit their work on time, and it's always the last minute, even into the last 11:50, end of day 11:59 on Blackboard. Then wait till the last 11:59 to upload. So here is some advice for you all. If you're teaching a course, and like most likely every course you teach, you're scaffolding the work, right? Your lesson plans are basically scaffolded, right? Because obviously you're teaching the fundamentals. I know, Christine, especially what you're teaching, right? You're teaching the fundamentals first, and you build upon the fundamentals, right? And then you have a major. We usually all have a major project at the end that they have to submit, like a final, or they got to submit some big presentation, right? So instead of putting names on these columns, what you can do is you can scaffold, right? So let's say we're doing branding, right? And this closely aligns to your syllabus. This aligns to your outline that you have developed for the whole semester, right? So we're starting off with branding. Then we're going to go, let's say we're going to do packaging, right? And then from the packaging, we're going to do some marketing. Well, I mean, again, I'm just making this up, so please forgive me. I'm not a subject matter expert here. But let's say we go into the marketing. You see how I'm scaffolding the columns? And then let's say we're moving on to, I don't know, what else is a good thing?
Merchandising.
Merchandise. Okay, thank you, Paula. All right, so then we're moving on to, so remember, your scaffolding, okay, I spelled that wrong, but that's okay. So you're scaffolding this one Padlet for your full semester-long project. Now your scaffolding is based on aligning these shelves to what you're learning in the book as the semester is going on. So if we're starting off with branding, we're gonna start off with branding, and this is what they have to do for the branding, right? So in this area, your student is gonna have to do this task for the branding. When we get to packaging, which we haven't yet got to packaging yet, but then here you can say here, do not work on this until September 8th. This is due September 8th, something like that, right? So you're going to set these little stop signs along the way, right? Because what we're doing here is we're shepherding, like shepherds, like sheeps, right? We're moving the class along step by step by step by step. And they have to do work and prove that they're understanding the topic, the subject matter, before we move on to the next topic, right? So that's what we're doing here. We're scaffolding. We're building one Padlet that is scaffolding a long-term semester project, and we're moving them along together as one big group. All right. Now, when you're doing this, now I'm bringing up what Paula said earlier. You know, Jose, you know, well, I can't put a grade in here because now, if everyone is working on this Padlet together, they can all see each other's grades, and I don't want that. That's a FERPA violation. Big problem right now, FERPA violation. So what we're doing here is, we are going to have Padlet do all the heavy lifting for us. I love when technology does the heavy lifting for us. I hate having to do the in-between work. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have Padlet do the heavy lifting. So when I go to share, and when I go to add, remember we covered this on the first workshop, right? This is how we add the Padlet to Blackboard, right? We go to add to your LMS. There's something really, really important that I want you to look at here. This is so important. Everyone works on this Padlet. Remember we talked about social learning? But then right below that is everyone works on their own copy of this Padlet. So let me go ahead and pick that. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to say that remake equals yes at the bottom. If you notice the custom parameter, the only thing that changes is that when the student clicks on this Padlet, Padlet is going to make a copy of this assignment and automatically assign it to that student. So I'm going to repeat that. By clicking on everyone works on everyone works on their own copy of this Padlet, is only changing remake equals yes. Remember we talked about remaking? And so when your student clicks on this Padlet on Blackboard, Padlet is automatically making a copy of this assignment and assigning that student this creating an assignment specific to that student. You don't have to make copies. You don't have to assign anything. This is all done for you.
Can we do it for teams?
Paula, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Can we assign a Padlet to a team?
Yes, you can do that. You can do it also as, yes, but then you got to remember, in that case, I wouldn't use this feature. I would just create a Padlet for group 1, a separate Padlet for group 2, and 3 and 4. You know, because only 4.
What if I didn't want group 2 to see group 1's Padlet?
Well, because if you are creating a separate Padlet for each group, they won't be able to see each other. Because now they're in separate groups. They have different Padlets. And then you will, give each group their own link to their Padlet, which is only visible to the members of the team. Right.
And can the team upload the finished Padlet into a Dropbox?
Oh, beautiful. Oh, you almost went the right direction, Paula. I would say something different. I would say create a Padlet exhibition and then just copy. I can show you this later, but I can show you how you can copy the group Padlet into a Padlet exhibition where everyone now can see everyone else's work as an exhibition.
No, what I'm
Mhm.
asking is different. What I'm asking is, say I have a group one homework Padlet, okay? Only group
Yeah.
one does that. If I could
Yeah.
drop that into a Dropbox, I could grade that.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
I could grade that directly from the Dropbox and have my rubric in the Dropbox so that they know
Yes.
how they're being graded.
Excellent
And
point.
and the rubric would follow the branding, packaging, marketing, whatever, and
Excellent.
that they would have a very understandable grade.
Excellent point. Excellent point, Paula. I see where you're going. You're integrating Padlet and using then the Padlet, the Dropbox assignments, so that therefore you have a needs grading, and then you can grade that way. Excellent point. Correct. Yes, you can do that. Now let me add something else to that thought on what Paula is going with this, and I love where you're going with this, Paula. But look at this. If you're doing a research project and you want to scaffold it this way, you can just use the Padlet so the students can do the research part and then save the last column for the upload your slide or the project, whether it's a PowerPoint or
Okay.
whatever. So now what you're doing is you're doing the research. You're using the Padlet as a research tool because
Okay.
it's great for research, because look at this, for research tools is one of the best ways to do research. Because you can go here, and then if you're looking to do research, you click on the magnifying glass, and you can find, let's say I'm doing Kurosawa. I'm taking a course on Japanese film. I'm doing Kurosawa. I can go for images. I can go for GIFs. I can go for YouTube. I can go for Spotify. I mean, I can, I can search. Oops, that's not a good. Didn't like my Kurosawa. Let me do that again. There we go. So if I'm looking for GIFs, if I'm looking for images, you see how it's filtering? There's Kurosawa directing, I don't know what he's directing. He's probably directing Ron or Rashomon. And then here, now you got GIFs. Now I have videos on Kurosawa, the movies he made, Dreams. I can get music on Kurosawa, like soundtracks to his movies, and web. Then I'm looking for articles. I mean, this is a great research tool. If you want to use it that way, Paula,
Yeah.
now your students can do the research on their own research or as a group, then take the project file, upload it as a Dropbox assignment, and now you have best of both worlds. You have Padlet as a research tool, and then you have Blackboard as a grading tool that
So
goes
what are you
directly.
going to do now? You're going to like hit that plus button, and what are you going to get? What am I going to
If I
do?
want to upload, right, so if I want to upload my final product here, then you click on the up arrow, and then you'll find, let's say it's a PDF, or it could be anything. It could be, I'm always fearful of selecting something that's embarrassing. uh, um,
Now, what if
I
I
have,
want them to upload the entire Padlet they just did? I want them
yes,
to put the Padlet into,
yes, yes, yes. Great point. That's what I was referring to earlier, Paula, right? So this is, again, remember, this is individual work, almost like portfolio work, that the students are working either on their own as a portfolio or individual research. But now you're like, okay, well, this is great. The research is great, and the final product is great. But now I want to do an exhibition, right? Now I want to exhibit, or maybe you want to show all the research that you did. Look how easy this is. Uh,
mm-hmm.
you create a new Padlet. Let me go back out. Right. Let's say you create a new Padlet, and you call this exhibition. I'm running out of time a little bit here, but let me say I do a shelf template because I want to put the names of the students on the top. Let me keep attribution on, comments on. That's fine. And so now this is my other Padlet. Now this is for the exhibition, right? So I have Tom, I have Mary. And so now they were all throughout the semester, they were working on their own, individual work. They were doing their research. And now comes the social learning part, right? I want them all to add their work. And let me add myself to the class. Now, I want to bring in my research Padlet. So I click on the three little dots over here, and notice it says Padlet right here.
Yeah.
So now I am bringing in my research Padlet into the exhibition Padlet. And obviously I have so many Padlets, this is going to take a while. I think I have over 200 Padlets from all the workshops. Oh, here we go, beautiful. The first one is my research one, remember?
Yeah.
I think it was homework number 1. I think it was the one that I had my research one. So now I want to bring the Padlet that I use for the whole semester working on my research, and I want to bring it in here. Oh no, that was the Excel one. Oops. So let me try that again. It wasn't homework number 1. It was. I wish I would have named it something that would have said, like, research project. It's not this one because this is this one. It's not this one because this is the Excel one. So I'm thinking it's this one, the shelf template roster. And let's publish it. And so now if I click here, now the whole class, Tom, Mary, and Sally, have access to the individual work that I was doing all semester long. So if I click on that, and now this is my work, all this, right? So that's how you would do that, Paula, right? This is how now you are. It's kind of meta because you're inserting a Padlet inside a Padlet.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So if you wanted them to comment, Jose, you could set it up so they could add their comments.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, hey, Jose, great work, great research. Great work on your research. I love what you did.
Does it tally per student? Does it tally the number of input per student?
Oh, does it tally the comments made or the inputs?
Yeah, for analytics. Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. I know they're working on that. I saw it on their roadmap. I haven't seen it yet, but yes, I hope they get that out soon. But to go back to earlier, because I think this is the strong point that I'm trying to get across, is that just think of it as scaffolding. If you have projects, big time projects, and you're running into the problem where students are all handing in their work at different times, and it's kind of going crazy, it's out of control. This is a great way for you to scaffold your projects, whether they are group projects, whether they are individual, so your students can work on individual on their own. The other great thing I forgot to mention about working individually with your students, and this I will guarantee you 100%, is that you are working one-on-one because only you and the student can see their individual work. Nobody else can see it. You as a professor is a one-on-one relationship. And as you're going through, let's say, you're going through this specific student's work, you're making comments. You can say, you can comment on the work that they're putting on their individual Padlet. And what you're doing is you are increasing the value of the final product. So if you're noticing that your student projects, final projects, are not looking like, you're seeing a great discrepancy between students as to the value of the work they're submitting, doing the individual work will allow you to look closely at every step along the way. And I guarantee you that when you get to the final product, the project looks much more cleaner. It's a better product because what you're doing is you're having the students focus on small chunks, small little pieces along the way. We're focusing on branding. We're focusing on the packaging. We're focusing on merchandising. And so you have an opportunity as a teacher to check the work and give feedback as they're providing their work, so that when they get to the final product, I guarantee you that it'll be much more fine-tuned. It will be a better project because you have helped them along the process. Okay. Any questions? I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I highly recommend it. This is like, it's gonna create so much organization as to when things are due, when things need to be submitted. and you're moving the class along together. There are not, you're not going to have the top bright students, those top 3, 5 bright students moving way along ahead, because again, you're going to put a little thing here that says this is only due until we cover it in the class. Once we cover branding, once we cover merchandising, then this column becomes available for you, because obviously you can't do anything until I teach it to you, right? You got to teach it first. And if they do jump ahead, you can see it, and then you'll notice these are the students that sometimes jump the gun. You know, sometimes misconceptions. They have preconceived misconceptions. They think they know everything, and you have to come back in and say, well, look, you know, this is why I say wait for the lecture. I'm teaching it to you, and then you need to teach it to them, and then they go in here, and then you'll see each student individually. Now, real quick, I'm going a little bit over, but I want to make sure that if you go with this route and you decide to use individual Padlets, that students are working individually, you as a professor, when you go back to your dashboard, you're going to see all the work, all the individual work under shared.
Oh, okay.
And then this is where you're going to see all the individual Padlets. And Padlet is going to give a name to all your students. You don't have to do anything. Padlet is going to assign the student their own individual Padlet with their name on it. And then over here, you're going to see at the bottom, below this, it's going to say contributed. And then in contributed, you're going to see Tom, you're going to see Mary, you're going to see Sally, you're going to see Jose. And then each one with their own Padlet, and then you're going to click on Tom, you're going to click on Mary, and then you're going into Tom's Padlet, Mary's Padlet individually. Okay. I think I hear a question.
Yeah, Jose, about the folders, the share, the made. I think that, is it possible to create subfolders? I'm thinking of an instructor that is teaching 3 or 4 sections of the same class. Is it possible to separate the students in a subfolder instead of merging all of them, 100 students, in one large folder?
Yes, Patrick, that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up, because I forgot to. I think I might have covered it a little bit in the first workshop on the basics.
Yeah. Right.
But yes, what Padlet is, what I'm gonna switch your name from Patrick to Padlet. Patrick Padlet. What Patrick is saying is I always preach about organization, because again, I'm always about saving you time as a professor. So if you organize yourself, you know, if you really spend an extra minute or two to organize yourself, and then if you do create your own folders, and then you know, let's say you create a folder for your class, HA112, or for a specific student. If you want to have a folder just for a student, you can do that. Unfortunately, Patrick, you cannot do subfolders, right? So like if I do a new folder, I can only do one folder at the top level. It won't let you do it, you know, at the second level.
Okay.
But to tie in what Patrick is saying to what I'm saying about individual work, it's great, because if you are teaching multiple classes and you are using the individual work on your own assignment that I've been explaining, you don't want to. It'll make your life easier, because then you just drag. Let's say this is Tom's Padlet. You click on the 3 dots, add it to folder that Tom belongs in. Like he belongs in the HA112, right? So then you bring in. It takes a little bit of time, but again, remember, you're thinking long term, because now you're organizing your Padlets into groups. And that'll make your life easier in the long term, because now you're going to have multiple classes that you're teaching, and they're going to be all mixed up, and you're going to be like, oh, I don't know if he belongs in this course or she belongs in that course. So thank you, Patrick, for mentioning. Those are the groups or folders.
Thank you. Right.
Sure. So we talked about icebreakers. We talked about you know, icebreakers being at low stakes, getting their feet wet. We talked about using the grid and the wall. Thank you, Christine, for reminding me. And then we talked about using the shelf, which we spent most of the time. I know I went a little bit over, so if you do have time, to stay, it's great. But if you have to go, please, I apologize. You can go. But I just want to real quickly cover how you can do a timeline where students, you can do a timeline where you can have it as an assignment where student, let's say you're doing an artist and you want to highlight the works of an artist in chronological order, you can make this into a individual assignment where the students have to, in chronological order, put all the highlights of an artist. Or, like I've seen a professor, Martin Felix, he uses this template for presentation tool. And let me show you real quick, if you don't mind, because I think this is really cool and it's worth your time if you're interested. Let me show you how he organizes his course using the timeline. And this will be a Padlet that students will not have access, or the students cannot edit. You don't want them to edit your, you wouldn't want them to edit this because this is only for them to look at, not to edit, right? So that would be a privacy setting. So let me show you real quick what Professor Martin Felix does. I think this is brilliant. And again, this is just a way to navigate through the course. So here's the Padlet for week 1. And look, this is a timeline, right? This is the timeline Padlet. And look how everything is structured from left to right. So this is the lesson plan, right? So here we got the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation of his lecture. It's a video that he records his videos using PowerPoint. Then he has an article for the students to read. Then he has an assignment, a PDF assignment that they have to read and discuss the article that they're reading. Then here is the reading of chapter 1 from pages from 1 to 17. Then here is a discussion. And then here are other, so you see how everything is scaffolded, right, as a lesson plan. So this is a way that you can actually use Padlet to design your the learning sequence for, let's say, Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and so forth. Any questions on using the timeline?
So this would
template?
essentially replace a folder, correct?
I'm sorry, Paula?
I'm sorry, Christine, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, not at all.
Christine.
I just wanted to comment that I love this. Yeah.
Yeah, this also replace using folders on Blackboard.
Exactly. Thank you, Paula. This is exactly like using folders. This is a folder.
Pictorial.
Yeah, this replaces a folder in Blackboard, but it's much more visual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Right.
this is so good for my mini lectures. Yeah.
Right. And so you're moving, again, our vision, our eyes move from left to right. We're very visual creatures, right? We look at what the picture is, and then we look at the title, and and it moves from left to right, in an easy way, And so this is how you can design your instead of using folders like Paula said. So that's another way you can use it. Let me go back now. So
And then you can just upload this into Blackboard.
Yes, and then you embed the timeline into Blackboard. It replaces the folders, right?
Would you mind showing me the map, what that map is all about? Because I have and I think Christine does too, sort of an international segment to my course, particularly my business course. What does this map do?
Yeah. I'm going to quickly do the map, and then I wanted to show you real quick to the Canvas. So if you do have to run, I'm sorry, I apologize, I went over. It is being recorded, and I will stay at the end. I will stay another extra half hour or however long if there are any questions or if you just want to chat. But let me show you the map. The map is really cool too. I've seen it being used by art history. Also, a course I think that she was teaching oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name, but there are what's the word, relics, right? When if you find things in Egypt or
right.
and then you can and then you can pinpoint the map. Okay, this is in Peru. This is where you have the temples, and then you can pinpoint the map. It's connected to Google Maps, So then you can really make it into a much more visual experience.
Is this a Google product, by the way, Padlet?
No, no, it's not. It's not. But the mapping does use the Google Map.
Okay.
So like if I want to add a pin in the map and I want to show the students, if you want to use it as an icebreaker, and I want to tell everyone, I'm from Dominican Republic. I was born in Bonao. I can do, Dominican Republic. Spelling it wrong. So now this is pinpointing exactly to my hometown where I grew up. And so I'm gonna say, I was born here. And so look at that. It goes straight, pinpoints right here to the map. And then this is exactly, and then here you have, again, pulling information from Google Map. You have certain, data from that area, right? You might have pictures depending on, and then you can zoom in. You can really zoom in. This is Calle Duarte, who was one of the founding fathers. So you can really, really use this many different ways. Artifacts, search for an artifact, locate the artifact, and so forth. So it's a fun way to learn geography.
Can I use this for all my students to, because I ask them where they're from? Will it show the world map, or how do I get to see a world map?
Yes.
On this?
Yes. So you see that the further I zoom out, then I'm getting wider and wider in the world map. And then so you might have a wide angle shot where now you might have students who are from Poland. You might have students from Spain. Another use case for this is I saw it used in the for jobs. I forget which career department or career. It was a course on jobs and how to get a job, building your resume, and then she was using it to post jobs openings. And so they were posting jobs in different states. Another way, you can use it that way. But also, yes, Paula, like you're using it, might be the icebreaker, or for cultural identity. As we're the melting pot, right? New York melting pot. Let's show where we all come from, and so you do a wide shot of the world map, and then you'll see these little pins on the map, and when you click on it, and then you'll have the student's name and then a little something about them. What I really would love to push it a little further is then what I would do here, Paula, is I would add, okay, what's the music? What is the music from the Dominican Republic, right? So let's say, we're so, all Spanish-speaking country, we all have our own thing. We're so like, so let's say if I do, let's say, well, I really want to show off that we do merengue, right? So let me get a YouTube video showcasing. Oh, look at that! I got Anthony Santos right here. I got merengue hits. And so now I'm putting in a video already. I'm taking it to another level now. I'm telling you, I'm from this part of the country, on the map, and I'm giving you a taste of the music. I'm playing the video. Here we go. Right. Or I might say, well, let me take a picture of the typical food with, rice, beans, and, steak, which is all Latin American kind of, and so now you're taking it to another level. And this is where you as a professor, knowing what the possibilities are, you can take it to that next level, knowing what you can do here. Now you have.
Are we limited in icebreakers? Christine, you might know. Is Christina still there, Patrick? Are we limited?
I'm still here.
In icebreakers, from asking students for FERPA laws where they're from? I thought we were limited.
I'm not aware of something like that. I'm not aware of that limitation. I am not aware that we are limited.
What's the limitation?
Yeah,
that they can't ask a student because it's discriminatory where they're from.
Well,
I've heard.
Well, we can ask them what their background is.
We can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Again, we're trying to bring everyone together in this type of assignment. We're showing.
Yeah, because I would love to be able to do this. I've got kids from all over the world, and I would love to, and this is also very good for my international. I have my groups do projects from different countries, and I think I like this a lot. So they could, they go into the CIA workbook for data, but they could also show music and places, and things like that.
Paula,
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Paula, I think that
Yes.
what you are referring to is a limitation, but in a job interview, we cannot ask in a job interview
Yes.
where were you born or where
Yeah.
you are from. But in the
Uh,
classroom, I'm not aware that that question has ever come up, legally
Okay.
speaking.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Interesting.
you.
I didn't know that. That's good. That's interesting to know. But Paula, now that you're talking about cultures and things like that, Pilar, who teaches in the
I know
modern
she is.
language.
Yeah.
Oh, she's amazing. So Pilar
Yeah.
does an assignment where students choose Spanish-speaking countries, and they all have to pick a Spanish-speaking country, and so she scaffolds using the shelf template. She'll say, okay, first pick the country, right? Let's say I choose Colombia. So tell me the typical Colombian dress attire, right? So let's say, so then they'll go here and they'll go, let's say Colombia, make sure I spell that right. Typical garments, right? And so you look for images, right? So this will be something classic, right? This is a typical, right? So this will go here. Now I want, okay, now give me a picture of the typical food, right? So now I go back into my magnifying glass, and I'm looking for food, typical Colombian food, right? And so what she's doing is she's having her students write in Spanish, so they're learning the language, but not at the same time. They're writing here. Okay, this is the traditional in español, right? They're writing in Spanish. Esta es la ropa típica de un colombiano, right? So and then she's correcting the Spanish, but again, remember she's using the visuals to send a message, and to associate the culture with the language, right? So here's a typical. The typical Colombian food. And then what she will do is then she'll say, okay, now give me the typical music of the country. And then just like I did, I went to YouTube and I typed merengue. But this is where she takes it, and this is where she take it to the next level. And this is why I like to just encourage you all to take, push it a little further. And so the last column now she'll say, now take all that you discovered from this country and record, make an audio recording. So you click on the three dots, you do an audio recording. Now in Spanish, speaking in Spanish, tell me what you learned about Colombia.
Wow.
But you see how you're scaffolding and then you're building it to the. You see, so that's really where you hit the home run.
Yeah.
Because now this becomes what we like to call an authentic assessment, because now the student is telling you what they learned. They can't find it on Google. They have to tell you, well, this is interesting. I didn't know the Colombians love to eat sausages, or the dresses are so colorful. But again, they're saying it in Spanish, so now they're practicing the language. Or in your case, might be marketing, or it might be whatever you're teaching, your subject matter, in that language, right? In the language they speak.
Can they add an audio, like here, like we the typical dress? Can they hit a plus button and add an audio in Spanish explaining the dress?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying, like as a comment. Well, that they haven't done yet, but you can as a new post. So you will go under here, and then you will do the audio, and then you'll do the audio recording. Yes, you can do that, Paula. Yes, I see what you're saying.
Right. And then you say everything they say, it's an audio.
Oh, interesting. I like that idea. I didn't think of that. That's a great idea. So I see what you're saying. So then you add, right? You add audio.
In Portuguese doing that. Yeah.
I love it. Love it. Love the idea. Love it. I love it.
I'm gonna have to go soon. Can you send me a Calendly to make an appointment with you?
Sure. And I think we finished everything. I think we covered. But thank you, Christine, for joining us. I know you were in a little tough spot.
You.
But
yeah.
thank you. Actually, if anybody, if you all do have time, I will cover the last one real quick. And if you have to go, go ahead.
Okay,
I just want to do it.
okay.
I just want to do
No,
it
I'll
for the
stay.
recording. The last one. This is the last one. And if you are a VoiceThread user, this is for those people who are looking, who usually teach online, and you rely heavy on VoiceThread because you're looking for that discussion, right? A human interaction. So let me recommend Canvas. And it could be done with any of the other ones, but with Canvas is interesting because Canvas, now you're making connections, right? So if I do, let me just real quickly do this real quick. I apologize for going over. It was a lot to cover. I should have done this in two. I should have maybe two parts. So if I do my discussion prompt as a professor, and I do it as an audio recording, I'll do the three dots, and I'll record, and I hit the record button. Okay, students, I want you all to leave an audio recording of what we covered in chapter 1. Now, you have 2 replies to other students. Make sure to connect your reply to a student's post by connecting your recording to the student's post. So real quickly, that was my recording, and they're going to listen to me, and then I'm going to save this, and I can listen to it if I want to. And this is instructions. So I call these discussion instructions. And I can listen to it if I want to by clicking on the play button. Okay, students, I want you all to leave an audio recording of what we covered in chapter 1. Now, you have 2 replies to other students. Make sure to connect your reply to a student's post. Now, it's going to be a little bit clear. I just did that on the fly. Make sure your instructions are very clear, because obviously instructions are so important, or else your student's not going to do the work correctly. So now that I have my, this is the, let's call it initial post or discussion prompt, and I click publish. And so now, so from here, a student now can record a response the same way I did by clicking on the record button. Yes, professor, I totally agree with what you're saying. X, Y, and Z, these are my arguments that, these are facts that back my argument, and I also included links to back my argument listed below. All right, so let's say this is my recording, and then I save it, and I publish as a student. The student can now click on the 3 little dots and make the connect their response to the discussion prompt by clicking connect to a post. Right, and so now, if I want to connect my post to this one, and I can do so, and I can also add a reason or a label as to why what is my response to this prompt. And so I'll say, let's say, reason why. Right? And so then this is my reason why I'm connecting. This is my response to the question, right? So this is why. So you can say here, I can either say is because of, so I can say branding or marketing, so that there is a reason why these 2 are connected, right? So now, as you can see, my post is a response to this one, and you see that they're connected by this. So, and then you can move this around, right? So if I centralize the discussion prompt, and then I have students all going around, almost like a node, right? Like a network node. These are all the responses to the discussion prompt. And then I can also make a response to this. It could be, it could go on and on. So this is another one. There's a lot of things you can do with this. This is very flexible, great for critical thinking, critical thinking, right? So if you say, what are the influencers of soul? Michael Jackson is influenced by, the Godfather of Soul. The Prince. And so Prince and Michael Jackson are connected to the Godfather of Soul because of the choreography. That's another example, right? So that's another way you can use this Canvas tool. And that's basically it. I think we covered the most important ones. I'm sorry I took a lot of
How
time.
about the one with the maps, Jose? The one with the maps.
Oh,
You,
the
you
map.
see them?
Yes, yes, yes. We did the one with the map.
Oh,
Which,
sorry about that.
yeah, which is sorry. I just went the wrong way.
That's
But the
okay.
map.
I'll just review the recording.
Yes, definitely. The map we did.
It's at the
You
end,
always,
Christine.
yeah, yeah. Very powerful. The mapping tool, very powerful. Mapping, I would say the shelf, super powerful. These are my favorites. And then I would say Canvas is the other one that's super powerful. It just takes time. You have to really think it through before you get to this point. Because if you don't have it all figured out, if you don't have your vision on paper, when you
Mhm.
get here, you're easily going to get lost because there's so many things you can do. Padlet is just way too flexible, and it can bend and shift for you. It's just you have to have your vision ready when you get here. Okay?
Jose,
Yeah,
Jose,
nice program.
which brings me to this question. I mean, obviously, some of these features require that we take at least a semester to bring it in, explore, pilot it,
Yes.
learn from it, and learn from the mistakes and everything. How,
Yes.
what kind of commitment has FIT made to Padlet going forward? Because the investment we are making in the learning curve right now is pretty substantial, and I love it. It's not a complaint question; it's a curiosity
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. It's a great question. And again, every time I teach it or I do a workshop on it, I always ask the question, ask yourself, is this worth the investment, the time that you're going to put into it? And also think about exactly the great advice that you give. Is a great advice is to play with it, see what your fellow colleagues are doing with it. I mean, it's taken by storm here at FIT. I'm seeing it in every department almost, and I'm not only seeing it in the classroom, but I'm also seeing an administrative tool where departments are using it to brainstorm, right? And so
So
the
the
department,
answer The
yeah,
answer is that FIT has made a long-term commitment to this vendor so that,
yeah.
the ninth floor doesn't at some point say, well, we can afford this anymore, so we have to just go back to a Blackboard,
Oh,
for
oh
instance.
no. Right now,
No?
our in our department, online learning is what's paying for it, and it's been so successful that I don't see us going the other direction, especially
Okay,
with all the feedback that we're getting from faculty. And that's really our goal, is to listen to you as faculty and what your needs are. And then if you tell us, no, I'm not using this, then this is why we pilot things. We don't throw things. We don't.
right.
I don't want to get too political or or go in the wrong direction with this. But you know what I mean. It's like we really take into consideration what faculty really need, and then
Right?
again, we won't leave you hanging with a tool if the majority of the faculty are not going to use it. So we wouldn't taken you this far if the majority of
Okay.
faculty are not using it already.
Thank you. That's very encouraging. Thank you so much for that answer.
Oh yeah, no, we're not gonna leave you. We're not gonna leave you empty-handed
Okay,
with Padlet. No, no. And we
excellent.
got a really good deal, so we got a school deal that kind of
Right.
it's yeah. No, I don't want to. Yeah, but definitely we got you on this, and that's why we're doing. When you see that we're doing constant workshops on this, is because
Right.
it's something that we continue to support because faculty tell us, and we hear it on the survey. Oh, you don't know, Jose, my students, on the student surveys or this and that, and this is, so I get constant feedback. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be pushing it because again, I only do what faculty really tell me is working for them.
Right. Yeah. It could be very smart of the Blackboard Corporation to buy Padlet.
Oh yeah, yeah. That usually what
Like what?
happens is it's when a tool gets so big that it gets acquired by another company,
Right.
um, and then it gets added to the LMS and then becomes a proprietary, so no, the other LMSs cannot use it. But then again, you can make more money if you can now we're talking the business side of the work. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting how it works. Right. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
But again, I always appreciate having you all attend, and I thank you for all the feedback. This is what I take back, is what you tell me, and then I share it with everyone else. Faculty come and tell me, this is how I'm using Padlet. You got to see this whole day. And is it okay? I can share this. Like, yeah, share this, and then boom, I shared it, and then everybody else is using it. And that's how we learn from each other. I'm not a silo person. I'm not those people into departments. I'm all like, let's all work together. And so as we all share, we all get better. All right.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, thank you all for joining. I will definitely.
I have a separate question about Blackboard that you might know the answer to. In the last week or two, I found it, and it could be me. I'm finding that when I try to type on Blackboard, particularly in the email section, that my typing is very slow. I mean, I'm typing faster than it can actually, and it's not happening when I work on my computer with Word or PowerPoint. It's specifically happening in Blackboard. Do we know if there's a problem?
I haven't experienced anything like that today, but you know how it could be. Sometimes it will vary, and we've noticed a lot of. Actually, let me stop the recording here.